All right. So this is a quiz on the book, the science book adaptations that we read the other day, or that we read for the past week. So if you want, you can have your science journal out to look things up, or you could have your other packets out if you want as well. So it says, number 1, which of the following can an animal learn by watching its parents? A reflex, an instinct, a behavior, or a physical adaptation? Well, this was the one when they were talking about the birds learning the behavior of a song. So it would be C, behavior. Reading is an learned behavior, inherited behavior, reflex behavior, or none of the above. What you do when you're reading, you don't know how to read when you're born, so it's not inherited, but you can inherit things that prevent you from reading well, and that can be inherited, but it doesn't help you read, or it doesn't make you a reader right away, so it's a learned behavior. Number 3, read this sentence. A salmon swims upstream by instinct to lay its eggs. What does the word instinct mean in this sentence? Does it mean no longer in existence? Behavior learned from watching others? Behavior inherited from its parents? Or common sense? I kind of laughed there because it's not... Common sense would be like... Oops, sorry, you can't see that part. Common sense would be something that you might think it would be, but that's actually, they're wanting to know from the story that we read. I mean, you might think it's common sense not to do certain things, but that you actually learn those types of things from common sense. So it's actually a behavior inherited from its parents. Number 4. Why do many plants and animal species become extinct? A, they cannot adapt to their changing environment. B, they choose a bad adaptation. C, giant meteors hit Earth, sending up giant clouds of dust that block the sun. Well, maybe once, but not every single time. I mean, it doesn't happen every single time. D, they develop behavioral adaptations, but not physical adaptations. No, you can get one of them, so it's not D. And we know it doesn't happen every time, so it's not C. And they don't choose bad... Animals don't always choose what color they are. They cannot adapt to their changing environment. A. 5. Suppose a new predator was introduced to an environment. What would most likely happen first to the prey animals? So if you get a new predator, what's going to happen? They're going to develop a physical adaptation to defend themselves. They're not going to grow wings or anything. So that's not going to work. B, develop a new behavior to defend themselves. They could hide or run away, maybe. C, have a sharp increase in the population. That means there would be more of them, which this part you might think would work, but your actually would be a sharp decrease. So they kind of trick you with this one. This would have to be decrease because predators hunt the prey. So that means there would be less. So this is not it. Or the rabbits would be, like, I keep thinking of rabbits and like foxes. If somebody put more foxes in an area, the rabbits aren't suddenly going to start eating the foxes. But that would be comical, but I mean, also frightening, but that's not going to happen. So what really is going to happen is they are going to develop a behavior. So B. Next. Charles Darwin was a naturalist famous for which law of nature? Every living thing adapts. B, only the strong shall survive. C, life will find a way, or D, survival of the fittest. And it was the D. They talked a lot about that in the survival of the fittest in that one section with him in there. None of these. Anyway. If a climate gradually warms over 500,000 years, what might happen to so gradual, it's not sudden, so they're saying slowly over time. if it gradually warms over 5,000 years, what might happen to the animals that live there? They will develop physical adaptations to adjust to the changed climate, A. B. They will learn new behaviors to adjust to the changed climate. So this is change their physical, change their behaviors. C. They will move to an area with a different climate. Or D. All of the above. So they could. This one I think is a little tricky because it says they will develop. Well, they'll have to develop some physical adaptations, like maybe they just don't have as thick of a coat. Their coat sheds slowly over time. And what they were talking about in the book was the animals basically, if they don't survive, they die, and the ones that do survive, they reproduce, and they are the ones who end up having a changed physical adaptation or a changed behavioral adaptation, as well as some of them move to climates that are best suited for them. Sorry. So D, all of the above. 8. Big is related to large in the same way that the environment is related to small, surroundings, pollution, or ocean. So if you think about the environment, it's the things around you, so surrounding you. Same thing, your surroundings. A horse automatically sneezes when dust gets in its nose. Is a physical characteristic, a learned behavior, a reflex, or none of the above? Well, if it happens and you can't control it, it's just a reflex. I think that's interesting that they picked that, but we're going to go with it. C it's the reflex. A monkey's tail that can grip branches is a behavioral adaptation, physical adaptation, reflex, or none of the above. Well, it's not a behavior that it's doing, it's physically gripping the tail or gripping the branch. So it's physically an adaptation. Number 11. Which of these is not a human adaptation? Which of these is not a human adaptation? Making tools, using language, making electricity, or growing thick fur. Some people would argue that there are some people who are very hairy, and this might be something that they can do. But yeah, no, we can do all of these things, but usually we don't do this. I don't know though. There's some people who are pretty hairy. This might be debatable. Fascinating. Okay. And here we go. Number 12. So it says, this is a chart, and it says use the table below to answer questions 12 and 13. Populations at Orion Creek, 2076 to 2080. I don't know what that means. No clue what that means. Okay, this is the number of salmon. This is the number of eagles. This is the number of humans. The number of salmon, it's going down. The salmon's going down. The human population goes up, and basically the eagles are competing with the humans for the food, and because there's less food, the eagles go away. Unless the people started eating the eagles. What happened to the salmon, eagle, and human populations over the time period shown? So the salmon goes down, the eagle goes down, and the human goes up. So salmon and eagle populations decrease and human populations increase. Well, that's actually the answer because it says decrease is the same as go down. So down, so less. So decrease is to have the number to go down or have less. Human and eagle populations increase, nope. Salmon and human populations, nope. Salmon and eagle populations increased, no. So it's the 8. Number 13. Why did the eagle population most likely decline over 5 year period. Well, we know it's not because the eagles went away. So it's got to be because the human population became greater, whether they were eating them or using them or just ruining their environment. Because eagles have trouble surviving in cold climates. Wait, why did the eagle population most likely decline over a 5-year period? Because there's less fish. So we're looking for that one. Because eagles don't like creeks. No, eagles don't mind the cold. Because humans fished for many salmon, which is a food source for the eagles. That sounds like it's it. Let's read D. Due to the natural cycle of populations going up and down. No. So it is C. You just have to read. Sometimes they trick you by doing something that would be different. Okay, so this one is actually you have to write 2 to 4 sentences. Describe one, so you have to do the first one. Describe one human adaptation. How does this adaptation make people's lives better? So in the story, they talked about an adaptation for humans is just clothing or a house or taking medicine. I mean, there's a lot. Humans have so many adaptations. They even talked about one of the adaptations as being language to communicate. So describe one human adaptation. I'm going to pick a house. Building homes, and you have to write it as a sentence, is a human adaptation. Homes, now it says, how does this adaptation make people's lives better? Homes keep people safe from weather and so from weather and the predators. There are people who end up having problems with bears or cougars because they put their homes in areas where there are predators, and the predator would eat a person. To keep them safe from weather, predators, /animals. I wouldn't really say that the animals want to eat people, but they could if they had the need to. So there. Homes keep people safe from weather and the predator and predators /animals. So that's how it makes lives better. All right.